Welcome to Chaos in the Lobby. Today, my guest is Felipe, aka Harvester, who is, of course, the creator of Kerbal Space Program, one of the highest rated games on Steam of all time, with an astonishing 95% overall positive rating, something that very few games have managed to accomplish. He now has a new game out called KitHack, where you build, fly, drive, and sail your own model planes, cars, and ships, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in here in a moment. Finally, he has even more recently joined Rocketworks to create Kitten Space Agency, which is the spiritual successor to Kerbal Space Program, which he himself created. So, Harvester, welcome and thank you.
Thanks for having me. And yeah, it's surreal. Like to hear you say all of those things. Um, yeah, it's just it's insane. So I think that this is why I'm really happy with how KSA is coming up, and I agree with a lot of pretty much everything about like how it's planned out, like the and how the idea is to release it like not on Steam, but in on a Woo, which is this excellently uh, put together idea of like an environment which is precisely this, like a platform where you can foster just the right community to come behind, so like get behind a project for what they see it could be,
Yeah.
without you trying to like survive the impossible toxicity that is a Steam release these days.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
think
especially,
this is like probably like the way for games in early access. I mean, this is the way for me at least. My next game that I'm working on, apart from KSA, I'm working on another game.
I was going to
Um,
ask if you're working on
yeah,
anything else, besides, or is it just KSA right
yeah,
now?
yeah. It's not just KSA. Like I came in to Rocketworks on KSA, and I had my own idea that I was pitching to. I mentioned it to Dean, and uh, and he said, "Well, interesting. You should say that because we've been working on this framework thing called Brutal,
Yeah.
which is another thing that I'm really excited about because it's absolute independence from the other big thing that's like a threat to pretty much every game studio these days, which is the enormous black box of the engine.
Right.
Not necessarily just Unity. That was my case. It was Unity, but uh, other engines as well, like Unreal or like any other game engine. To be honest, put you into this like framework that you need to work inside. And for there's a certain kind of game like KSA which really needs to do things that most game engines are not made to do because the game engine is built in under the assumption that like most games need stuff like um, terrain and vegetation and characters and lighting and
And a scene, and
um,
yeah.
a scene and a bunch of other stuff. And then they are architected to best deliver like those essentials, which are excellent if you're making something like a first person shooter or a strategy game or something that has a genre to it. If you're making something where you can't even quite explain in terms of like genre labels what it is,
I always call them
um,
sandboxes. Yeah.
yeah, something that kind of like defies what a normal like what you would expect from any game genre, um, and just like makes does it in a weird way. Like the engine, that's something that Dean made me ask. Actually, he said, think about how much of your time any day you're doing something because this is the only way you can do it under like the constraints of the engine versus just doing what you wanted to do for the game.
Interesting.
And the more
Yeah.
I thought about that, the more I realized how true that is. Like it's most of it. It's not
Yeah.
a little bit. It's the vast majority of my time was going into finding these solutions that worked within the constraints of the engine instead of um, just pushing forward with what the game needed to have. Um, and it's kind of fascinating. And
Yeah.
Brutal, like he started working on it from this kind of same feeling of like feeling extremely constrained and like beholden to this black box piece of software that's out of your control. And that's something like everybody could clearly see a couple of years ago with the whole runtime fee fiasco,
Right.
right? Like that was the moment where everybody like was like, wow, wait, maybe we do have our eggs all in this one basket.
And
Um,
what a terrible decision. I
why?
I
Like
I
that
mean,
was I couldn't have imagined I couldn't imagine a worst way to like deal
yeah,
to like communicate anything to your customers. It's just like make them reconsider the
yeah.
choice of using you in the first
And
place. Like
what
at
a
a
gift to their
foundational level.
competitors. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
that was
It
I
was
mean, they walked it
insane.
back pretty quickly. There was I
Yeah.
remember there was quite
Still, like
the
I've never
backlash.
seen like such a move. That was
Right.
like I I I have no explanation for that either.
Extreme greed. That's the only thing I can come up with is
Yeah. And I mean that yeah, they got me like for the first time in 10 years back then looking at other game engines.
right.
Like I had never looked outside. And there I was like that week browsing other game engines and seeing like what else was out there.
Just in
Like
case. Yeah.
that, yeah, it's like the worst thing, the worst possible move strategically they could have done. But even then, like I was already like way too deep into KitHack to do anything about it. I could just like brace and hope for the best. But and thankfully, like came out, it became a non-issue in the end.
Right.
But even then, like I was already like, I had a bunch of peeves and mild dissatisfactions with a bunch of stuff in Unity, and that just made me start like seeing them more and more. And then when Dean said like, "We've got a thing that's not Unity, you're gonna love it," I was like, I really did love it because
Does it live up to its name? Is it actually
brutal.
brutal? Yeah.
Oh yes,
Is it?
absolutely brutal. It's insane. It's a crash course in low level graphics programming to a degree that like I had days where I would just walk out of my office here with my head spinning, like not even able to focus properly. Like,
Yeah.
but just the amount of information. Like I actually have something here. I actually printed like this out. Like this is a cheat sheet
Oh wow.
on some of the bits on how you put together a rendering pipeline.
Yeah.
This is just what it takes to deploy a single shader to draw something. Um,
Okay. So yes, it does live up to its name.
it's very brutal.
Yeah.
But it's also like very fun because um, being forced to work at that level of like now you're responsible for absolutely everything. Um, Meaning like there are no conveniences, there's no like ready-made tooling for anything. Means that you get to ask like, okay, so what do we really need then
Yeah.
for the game to be a thing? And like for instance in KSA we have volumetric atmosphere and volumetric engine exhaust effects
Yeah.
because and that's because like the volumetric atmosphere was seen as a requirement like really early on. So I was like, well, yes, let's go for that then. And um, and the volumetric engine exhaust is there because having the atmosphere and the clouds and everything else, it was a logical step to move on to other volumetric gas effects.
Yeah.
Um, which if you already had something like off the shelf ready to go, like the Unity particle systems, you can just throw that into the scene and compose a particle effect that looks quite good after some work. Even if it's not like the ideal tool for it, like using it is so convenient. It's so right there that
It's
it's
good enough.
impossible
Yeah.
to make any other decision. Why would you reinvent something like untested, unproven, and kind of insane like volumetric engine plumes um, when you could just put them together out of particles? Well, if you don't have particles, now you get to ask that question, and it's a valid one. So
Yeah.
now, like just by virtue of not having any tools, you get to choose the ideal ones instead of just whatever is there.
Well,
So this
speaking of,
is
I mean, volumetric, obviously that Black Rack and he created plenty of mods and visual mods for Kerbal
yeah,
Space Program. I mean, some of which are just absolutely stunning.
it,
And it's amazing
it's
that he got them to
I mean,
work
the
the
man
way that he
is
did.
insane. Like, what can I say? Like, we're all equally shocked at the
Yeah.
things he comes out with. Like,
Yeah.
it's dark magic what he's doing. Like, it's
But what's it like getting to work with him and Daishi and several other people who did create mods for Kerbal Space Program? Had you spoken to them before Kitten Space Agency, or is
um,
this kind of a first
no,
meeting?
no, actually, uh, yeah, it's actually really cool. Like, it's all like
Yeah.
really great people who are you can see like just by talking to them like that they have that same trait, like that quality that we got like from the original developers in
Yeah.
KSP, that they are doing it because they really, really love it and they don't want to do anything else if they can do this in any way. And I mean, I'm one of them in that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm nerding out every day now in KSA,
Well, I
just as
remember
it.
when they first announced it, and they said, "Oh, well, Black Rack's involved, Daishi's involved, oh, Harvester's involved." It was kind of a, I don't know, like an Avengers Assemble kind of like moment where like all of these incredible people who were involved in KSP are now coming together to make the spiritual successor. Uh,
That was yeah, that was magical again. Like that
yeah,
was one of those things where like I mean, for my part, I'm just glad to be involved
right. Yeah.
this time. Like I yeah. Um and yeah, I mean, it feels like it's kind of like recovering, like bringing back something that was lost in the process. And
Uh,
like to me, it was lost like many years before even like KSP2 started. It was already like breaking down, like even in like late KSP, like in at squad, it was already like um, going badly. And then it just continued going badly for the next 10 years, I guess. Um, and
well,
yeah, that's kind of like everything that happened with KSP, like post 2015, was kind of just like a tale of what happens when greed gets in the way of like enthusiasm for doing something.
yeah,
Uh, just because you want to. And KSA is now, it seems like a very big redemption arc is closing, doesn't it? Like, we get to nerd out
yeah.
over it again and just do stuff because it's cool. And I don't know, like, just everything feels like it's kind of converging towards like the way that it's happening, working with Brutal instead of a game engine. So we get to just um, go nuts again without fully knowing what we're doing,
Yeah, and in a
which I
studio
think,
that's led
yeah,
by
it's,
someone who loves games, who clearly has a
yeah,
passion for it, who, and more importantly, loves the way the games are made. At least that's what it
yeah.
looks like from the outside, from the times I've heard him speak on town halls and things like that. He clearly has a passion
Yeah.
for this.
And I mean, like we met, like I met Dean back in like 2013, I think. He had just come out with DayZ,
Oh yeah,
and I was coming out with KSB, and I was playing DayZ right around the time that he was playing KSB.
interesting.
So we met at the GDC that year and nerded out over each other's project.
That's
Uh,
really cool. I'm sure that was a lot of fun. Yeah,
That was a lot of fun. And like we started talking and it turned out we had a lot of the same ideas on like what games are and aren't and need to be. And like what we like and what we feel like a game should let you experience, I guess. And we were both like going on about like how the games, both Daisy and KSP, are similar in the sense that like they create like story moments, like not necessarily like they don't have a story that they drop on you.
right.
They make you have experiences that become a story that you then later tell other people about. Like you don't. It's something that I heard even like from much earlier. I heard Will Wright once say on a JEC talk. He said, "You don't go tell your friends about a new cutscene you've unlocked, but you definitely do tell them about this unique moment that happened only to you on a game because you made these decisions and then stuff happened." And
Yeah, that's
I've
an interesting thought. Yeah,
and to me, like this has always been like the fundamental like truth of making games is that like games are not a storytelling medium in the sense of like in the same way as a movie or a book. In the sense that it's not you telling the story. You're
yeah,
making a world in which stories will be made by the people playing in it, not necessarily you. You can make a premise, you can make a backdrop, like you can make the first age of Middle Earth, and then set people off to have the second one, and then tell about that. But I think that games that just tell the story linearly are like not 100% of the potential for what that world could be.
yeah,
You need to be able to live in that indefinitely and just play there, like in a sandbox. Yeah. And
yeah,
I knew that like Dean agrees with that like fundamentally also, and um, so I couldn't think of a better group of people right now to be working on something like ASA. It's very much like the correct assembling of the right types of nerds,
yeah.
the right types of skill sets, to do this kind of thing. And it's really amazing. I was watching like just the other day, like we're nerding out over like Stefan, which used to work at SpaceX as a control system engineer,
Oh wow.
going on about like, yeah, I know it's nuts. I mean,
Yeah.
I wasn't even a game developer when I started, and now like there's control systems engineers from aerospace in the same team, and it's just surreal. Like there's, like
Yeah.
I said, no neural pathway.
I'm really happy to hear that though, especially after your experience at Squad, that you're getting this chance at almost like like you said, or like a redemption arc or a chance to do the things that you maybe wanted to do that you said people maybe weren't
Yeah.
listening. Uh, what are a few, now that we've talked about or heard about maybe colonies and multiplayer and different things that were planned for KSP2 and
Mhm.
maybe are going to be planned for KSA. Is there a feature that, whether possible or not, that your dream feature that maybe you would want to see in a game like Kerbal or Kitten Space Agency?
Well, in something like Kerbal or KSA, like I did feel like I had given the like everything I wanted to see
Yeah.
in KSP one when I chose to leave. Um, and I did feel like I had left it in a pretty satisfyingly complete way.
Yeah.
So then like from here on, like everything else that we can add to the game is a bonus to me. Like the vision for what the game could have been, I think we did get there, despite everything with KSP itself. Um, I mean, it's not at all saying that there are not a load of things that I would have done better.
Sure.
But in terms of like everything that I expected the game could have possibly had, I mean, this is a game that began just as a 2D game to shoot up rockets and seeing if they explode. Um, so like I'm always like extremely satisfied with the feature set, I
Yeah.
guess, at this point, because I mean everything beyond that first like minimally viable version of KSP is already a bonus to me. But
Yeah.
one thing that I'm really looking forward being able to like at least be mildly involved with is how multiplayer is going to turn tie in with everything else, because that's the one thing that when I started KitHack, I made it a point was that it was going to be multiplayer, and it does have multiplayer. It works.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to deal with the. It's not so much the scale of the universe of a space sim that's the problem. It's more of it's the time scales. Like that's the biggest, I think, challenge in how do you deal with multiplayer in a game where people can just time warp? And they have to be
Right.
able to do that because otherwise they're going to be there for ages. Um, so I've had ideas on how to do that myself with KSP if I could have uh, been involved with that. But I don't know if that's the way it's going to go either with KSA. Like if my
I was
ideas
going
are
to ask, are
gonna,
you able to reveal anything about what's planned
I mean,
for
it's
how that would
just
work?
ways to how to deal with players being able to time warp and potentially disagreeing on their clocks and still be able to play together. Um, it's one way of doing it. I think Dean has other ideas as well. Um, but it's one of the bits that I'm more, I think, fascinated about, like how we can. It's one of the most interesting problems I think to solve with something like SB is the multiplayer aspect. Um,
Yeah.
and it's going to be an interesting one because multiplayer does tend to introduce some other like uh, gameplay features, like meta gameplay type thing
Yeah.
that aren't there in single player. Like a lot of the like suspension of disbelief in a way, like the kind of a meta, like being immersed in that game world doesn't stick very well in multiplayer. You can see that if you compare like Skyrim to like Elder Scrolls Online,
Yeah.
like Skyrim is much more like you're much more a part of that world because there are not a lot of other like players running around and bunny hopping around
Influencing
you
it.
and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, and that it kind of inevitably takes you out of it a little bit. So like there's always this kind of like decision, I guess, like a multiplayer and immersion don't always like fit together. So that's one of those interesting things that I'm kind of curious, I guess, to see
Oh,
how that plays
yeah.
out in a game like ESP.
I don't envy
Um,
that challenge. That it sounds difficult, to say the least.
no, but it's all right though. Like that's the kind of
Yeah.
challenge that it's like. I enjoy nerding out over these kinds of technical problems. If I just had those to do every day, I'd be pretty
Yeah.
happy. As long as it's not UI stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, UI stuff is horrible.
You don't enjoy it at all.
Yeah, no, it was so bad. It's just but then it turns out that it was largely because of the tools that I was forced to work with under Unity, like the Unity UI tools are dreadful. Um I don't know, they're just like clunky and slow and you don't like they're meant to like remove the need to do a lot of coding, but in the end you still have to do all the same coding. It's just more boring
Right.
coding. Um, and I don't know, it never flows. It's always like this kind of thing that I was always like, oh God, I have to do UI stuff again. Um, Whereas like with if you get to do like procedural stuff, like procedural fairings or craters or wings and stuff like that's always so much more fun. It's something that I actually put up a live stream even of myself, like live streaming coding a procedural like uh hanging cable thing.
Oh,
Like
did you really? I'll have to find that.
yeah,
That
and
sounds interesting.
I mean, it's a 4 hour long stream. I'm not sure how entertaining it's going to be, but I felt it was interesting enough to put on a live stream. I would
Yeah.
never think to do that to inflict myself working with UI stuff on people. Like that is like there's nothing fun about that. Um, but yeah, like and that's one of the cool things I think with Brutal and stuff. Like you get like exposed to the need to make stuff procedurally like that
Yeah.
so much more often just because you don't have any of the conveniences, so you don't feel compelled to even use them. Um, Whereas like with when you have all the tools, like in Unity, you feel like you're not doing like the most efficient thing you could do if you're not using the tools that are already there because I mean they're already there. Why would you reinvent a way to do something even if it would be better?
Right.
Um, but then yeah, you end up you end up kind of like locked into this way of doing stuff where like most of the time you're just looking for a way that you could even do the thing um, under those constraints instead of just like coming up with the ideal way to do it if you had all like full control. It's very vague. I know it sounds very vague, but
No.
like it's because it happens in a bajillion different ways.
Yeah.
Like from like how you implement floating origin to how should we do the engine effects and how do we deal with sound or how do we do like character animations or even characters or how
Right.
do we put like text on screen. All of that like in an engine is answered for you. Like there is a way to do each one of those things. Um, in Brutal, like none of that is there
Hmm.
by default. So you get to decide by the experience of having to do all of that on your own, which is kind of nuts.
But there's also probably a
It's
lot less bloat as a result of that.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's razor thin. Like the whole brutal thing, as far as a layer of technology that you work on top of, is really just a C sharp framework into Vulkan and some OpenGL and other like libraries like that, which is really cool because like for me at least, it's been a lot of like I've never had to do so much learning on like how you learn the things that like the engine is doing for you.
Yeah.
And as a game developer, if you work just over the engine, like um you don't go into that because you can't. Like you can't really see how that stuff is happening. You can't really see like how what does it mean to upload a texture to the GPU. Like the in Unity that happens for you when you load the texture. Um, in Brutal, you have to set up the buffer. You have to set up the command that transfers the memory for the image in the correct way, like to become the texture. And by the time you're done with that, uh, thousands of lines later, you know now exactly how that works, and now you can use that, and you
Yeah.
can like come up with your own shenanigans.
So
And
it just obviously makes you even better at what you're doing, and then yeah,
oh yeah, like you
gives you the
have to
tools
level
to
up.
control. Yeah.
You have to because otherwise you don't survive. I must have leveled up like 20 times since I got into Brutal. Um, and but it's super fun. I've been able to do some stuff that I was kind of fantasizing about someday doing in Unity, but never really had like too much of an incentive, like to do things like volumetric terrain and stuff like that. with um, using like these mathematical primitives of terrain shapes and stuff. And I was always thinking like, wow, this would be super cool, like for visualizing like airflow and stuff like that in a flight sim. But just the work required to do something like that, like always loses in comparison to like another way you could do it in the engine using the stuff they already have, and then you don't. But like now, like I've got that working now in my project, and it's like it's there, and it's something that was kind of a pipe dream, like last year, and now it's like there because I needed it. Otherwise, there would be no project. So like, it's super cool that like it kind of launches you into the situation where you just have to do it.
Speaking
And
of your new project, is that something that you're ready to talk about or reveal
um,
what it is?
I mean, it's still quite early. Like,
Okay,
there is such a thing as too early to show, in very much the same way as a baby shouldn't be removed from the belly before it's ready.
fair enough.
But like, I want to talk about it. I'm holding back. I
Okay,
really am.
all right.
But I don't know. Like, it might still need a bit more. Um, oh God, I really want to talk about it now, but no, I can't. Oh man. Um, but
That's fair. I mean, I won't stop you if you want to. I'd love to hear about it, but I
no, that's the
understand if
thing.
it's
I
too
might
early.
just need some more provocation, but like yeah, I'm gonna hold back. I need to, I think, because it's still too too early, but it's not too far off, I think, from being able to be talked about. I do know that
Maybe a
it's gonna
working
be
title, if that's too much to ask.
well, I don't know if I can say it
Okay,
because I don't know if it's gonna be end up actually being the name of the game or not.
okay,
Uh,
yeah.
but
I had to ask. I had to ask.
yeah, but it's a game. There's going to be simulations, there's going to be explosions, and there's going to be a bunch of the stuff that I made for KitHack and a bunch of stuff more, not so much technology wise, thankfully, from KSP. That's all in the past as lessons learned. And it's a fully new foundation, and it being on brutal, like you get to do things like in the most efficient ways possible, like the game runs in a budget of 120 FPS by definition,
Okay,
and
yeah,
it cannot do less than that. Like that's the level of
interesting.
performance that we can aim for with something like Brutal. I know that KSA, if you put it in the right hardware, it can run like upwards of 400 frames a second,
Yeah,
like which is something that like and something like Unity is unthinkable. Just from like the overhead of running the player won't let you do that. Um, and like with Brutal, because we have so few like abstractions and mechanisms on top of it, we can just go for the fastest things. And I mean, also very importantly, we don't have to maintain 10 years of other projects retroactively.
right.
That definitely hurts your prospects of upgrading stuff. Um, but in our case, because it's all new, like we're getting to like push the boundaries in a way that's like really, really cool. And we're getting to do some stuff that like like G like graphics cards are really, really cool. Like there's a reason they cost so much. Like they're really, really cool beasts of computing. And
Yeah,
with Brew, we get to use them like a lot more.
especially in
And
recent years, the
yeah,
progress and the iteration from like a 1070 to a 4070 is just
oh yeah, it's insane.
mind-boggling. Yeah, and
I
that's only
yeah.
three generations later. So
Yeah. And I
yeah,
mean, and this is like, I remember when I was a kid, like a GPU would go for last me around 2.5 years before I started hating it and
yep,
really, really wanted a new one. Um, it seems that this has even slowed down a little bit. Like the rate at which a new generation of GPU comes out doesn't seem to be as fast as I remember it, but the leap from each generation to the next
yeah.
is so much bigger. Like I was on a 3070 up until earlier this year, and I upgraded to a 5080. And holy hell, like
Yeah.
what a monster this is. Like this thing doesn't slow down. Like it doesn't feel lag. It's like it doesn't apply to it. Like
And
I
especially
can't
the
make
jump
it go
between
slow.
the 50 or the 40 series and the 50 series in terms of efficiency
Hmm.
is amazing.
Yeah.
The 4090, for example, that's what I use, and it is kind of a power hog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
But the
yeah.
5090 doesn't have that issue, apparently. I don't know. I haven't
Oh,
benchmarked it or
about the
anything.
power.
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't justify a 5090. Like
Yeah.
it was so
It's a big
expensive.
price tag. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I work with these things every day. I could maybe justify like any amount of money going into them, but I know that in 3 years,
You're gonna
I'm
want
gonna
them.
have to do it again.
Yeah.
And it's like, do I really want to like for 15% extra power, considering like the previous model is half the price,
Right.
and it's like 15% difference, and then like, yeah,
Maybe just give up the extra 5 frames per second. Yeah.
yeah. So I decided for the 5080, and also mainly because I'm concerned about the power usage here. I don't want to set the wall on fire.
Right.
But but yeah, and also like I run this ridiculous, like irresponsibly large resolution because I have
I've seen a
multi-screen.
photo of your setup before, and there's a lot of screens. It looks like
There's a lot of screens. I have four at the moment. The center one is 4K. Then there's two full HD ones on the sides, and a small one like just here. That's like an auxiliary
yeah.
fourth screen. And well, the total resolution comes out to like just about 8K
Okay.
in terms of pixel count. And I like to play in full screen with the game spanning all the three center screens and all. So like that's asking a lot of a GPU. And the 50 series can definitely do it. It doesn't even mind.
Yeah.
Like I'm playing most games maxed out, which is nuts.
That's incredible.
Oh, yeah.
But my final question is funnily enough, there has been kind of a quasi debate about what a Kerbal is.
Oh,
And
right.
so some people seem to believe that or feel quite strongly, even that they are frogs. But then other people,
Hmm.
especially people that I've noticed who live and play the game in Eastern Europe, feel that they are sentient cucumbers. So I
Oh,
was just
that's a
wondering
good one. Also, a good
if you care to weigh
hypothesis.
in.
I mean, like if you consider what other life forms exist on Kerbin,
Yeah,
um, like that can be observed to be there. Vegetation is there, and it's also green,
yeah.
and those are life forms. You don't see that many other reptiles or amphibians, so I couldn't tell you. I'm not a Kerbal biologist myself. Um,
I've just seen
so
people
yeah.
arguing back and forth. Oh, it's a cucumber. No, it's a
I mean,
frog.
my
So
favorite hypothesis is that they share an evolutionary link with grass.
okay,
And maybe the space program might have been to some part attributable to the fact that there are no other life forms. Maybe the space program caused everybody else to go underground.
interesting.
That's one of my favorite theories, also.
Yeah, I like
Um,
that one. Yeah,
yeah, but I mean, they don't really have like the biology lore of it isn't, I guess, very deeply constructed because they originally used to be made of tinfoil and they didn't have faces or anything. Um,
yeah. I think
so
I remember you telling the story that
yeah,
the idea for the game came from a game you would play when you were a kid of attaching
yeah,
tinfoil men to bottle rockets.
yeah, and we would like cut out little like wings and cockpits out of cardboard and other stuff and just try to make spaceships for them. And we called them Kerbals and we gave them names. And
Oh,
they were
that's
all
really fun.
named something Kerman. And
And is
that was
Kerbal
kind of
just
the idea.
a made up word for you guys, or
Yeah, pretty
yeah?
much. Just I don't know even where it came from. We just started calling them that. It used to be Kerbo with an O at first.
Oh,
But
interesting.
thankfully that got phased out relatively quickly. Um, and I mean, when I pitched the game, I already knew that it was going to be called the Kerbal Space Program, even before I knew what a Kerbal even looked like. Um, and
And
so
how
that,
old were
yeah,
you
the rest
when
of
you
it
were
evolved.
playing with these?
Well, I'm around 15, 16, maybe. Just old enough to be irresponsible and dangerous. I don't recommend trying it. Yeah, I'm thankful I still have all my fingers. Like those were actual explosives.
Oh,
Um,
so we're not talking
yeah.
the little ball. We're talking the big
I
full
mean, they
size
were
bottle
like
rockets.
bottle rockets and stuff, like
Yeah,
not like the big ones, like Rocketry Club type stuff. It was more like firework grade.
yeah.
Um,
Still dangerous.
but
Still
some
really
of them
dangerous.
exploded very close to the launch pad. Some of them exploded the launch pad. Yeah, those crews they didn't fare very well, like all of them, but they are remembered for their brave efforts and pioneering.
And immortalized in Kerbal Space
Oh
Program. Yeah.
yeah, I mean yeah, like Kerbal, the the first three, like Bill, Bob, and Jeb, are names that I remembered off the top of my head from the original ones. They weren't even supposed to have been like the canonical first three
Yeah.
originally. I just I needed to have some characters there because there was no character generation yet. The idea was that they were going to be randomly generated. Each time you launched, you got a new set. Um, and but there was no character generator, but there had to be something because everything was in a hurry. So
Right.
I just made them and put them down and gave them the first names that I remembered from the original ones off the top of my head, and they were Jebediah, Bill, and Bob.
That's
I
awesome.
remembered those, and then like we actually had to rethink like how we were going to do that part of the gameplay loop because people loved those characters so much that the original plan was that you were just going to get a random set and everybody was just going to have their own randomized like set of characters. But then they became like hero Kerbals in a way, and that we made it. I made a point that like no, so every game has to start with these three, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
Valentina got added also. So those four were your initial set, and then you got random ones after them. But even those, the plan was that you were just gonna like cycle through them as completely disposable, expendable victims. But
But
we
I mean, I
those
remember sending rescue missions for those three. So
yeah,
it became if Jeb got stuck somewhere,
you
like
go after
you
them.
go get
Yeah,
Jeb. Yeah.
that level of attachment to them, I didn't expect from the first ideas of game design because um, like the idea was just that if we're gonna get a random set of characters and like and I found myself later, like when I was writing the persistence and how the game saves and stuff, in a way where like when a character is like returned from a mission, like they go back into the rotation. So next time, like even before we had the whole crew management system in the game, it was already doing that, where like it remembered characters you had already had and put them back in um, and only generated a new random one when you needed new ones, like additional ones.
Yeah.
Because the idea then was that like these are yours to care about and go after if they get stranded on the moon.
Yeah. Because this
And
guy's been on 5 missions. We can't lose him
yeah,
now. Yeah.
and like they need to have that like running like tally on them, like in their own like mission log and everything. Like they have their own histories, and that's like the thing about like this is the stories that you tell in that world as the player. Um, like it's nothing that we did. Like we didn't come up with their backstories.
Yeah.
Like they like you do that as you send them up and they explode and they come back and all of that. So like that was one of those like really cool like unforeseen I would even say like unforeseeable things. Like if you're just designing a game before you go and make it behind closed doors, like you would never have the opportunity to arrive at something like that.
Yeah. How could you plan something like
Right?
that? Yeah.
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 Like I would have probably made a game that characters are throwaway and that you just like churn through them. Um, it was from like seeing what the community was doing with them that I
Yeah.
realized like, wow, people really care about them. Like we need to make them more permanent and make you have more like be more responsible for them.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
That's so cool. And it really does sound like this Kerbal has been a part of your life
Yeah.
since childhood, which is really amazing that you then got to go and make this game and share
Yeah.
that fun you
That
had with everybody. Yeah.
that is one of the things that I that are more surreal, I think, in my life. Like, especially if you like forget all the context and just consider like the Jebediah plushie on the space station.
Which is
Like
amazing. Yeah.
that to me is like insane because I look back to like being 15 years old and making these little tinfoil men saying like, oh, they really want to get to space. Like
Yeah.
that's their thing. Like they really, and now like there was one in actual space. Like that's just I don't know. There's no words for that. It's
It's magic.
surreal.
It's yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's
much.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Harvester, thank you so much for joining me and taking the time out of your day to talk to me about all of this. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun chatting with you. I
Yeah.
really had a great time.
I mean, I can go on infinitely, but I know I talk too much. So
No, not at all. No, I've loved hearing about all of
I
this. Yeah.
appreciate when people put the brakes on me.
If you're enjoying this podcast, make sure to subscribe for more. And if you want to support me and my channel, you can do so through Patreon or by joining my channel here on YouTube, where you'll get members only exclusives like early access to new episodes, members only videos, and extras. Plus, you'll be helping me focus on getting my next guest and creating new content.